everyone. Excuse me, this is Jared Rand. Welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Sunday, June 22, 2025, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. Staying vulnerable is a risk we have to take if we want to experience connection. That's a dilemma, since most of us are not. We feel that we have to protect our egos, and so we are not vulnerable. We're constantly figuring out ways to protect ourselves from all forms of emotional upheaval. You want to make sure that you're in a comfortable position. No outside distraction. Relaxed into your body. Still as a statue. Focus on the rhythm, the natural breath of rising and falling. None of us want to feel exiled from love. So we reach for our phones, we scroll, we text someone, we swipe another feed, or we numb out on food. We distract ourselves with conversations and stimulation just to avoid touching the silence. We try to fill the space with anything or anyone who might save us from the confrontation with our own presence. But all of that only delays the healing. And yet right there, in the center of the stillness, God is waiting, not judging, not demanding, just deeply present. The divine meets us inside the honesty of our aloneness. In those raw, tender spaces that most of us are afraid to enter. And when you finally stop running, soften the edges, breathed, and allowed yourself to feel what lived beneath the fear, the silence began to speak. You may remember that you reconnected, and what once felt like abandonment became the very place where sacred intimacy began. Speak to all people as though they are the wisest, gentlest, most beautiful beings on earth. For what they believe, they become. Heather K. O'Hara. Most of us, if not all of us, at one time or another, we begin to realize the secret that you are searching for all along. Intimacy itself is the doorway to God. Not just intimacy with another, but intimacy with every sensation in the body, every emotion. And most of us resist every shadow that we try to escape from. And when we stop turning away from what felt uncomfortable and leaned into it with love, you find something luminous waiting for you there. God was not hiding behind the pain. God was inside it, breathing through it, wanting to be met through it. That is the portal. That is the big turning point to create intimacy with life in every moment, embracing the truth of what you are, no matter how painful it may feel. Some of us will realize through those years of painful searching that our own discomfort was the gate, and that our resistance to God was the veil. that blinded us from the truth that set us free. And when we finally stopped long enough to feel what lived beneath the craving for the one, we began to discover that deeper inside ourselves was the one that we were searching for the entire time. The holiest of holy was already waiting, is waiting for us in this emptiness and silence. To feel abandoned is to deny the truth of your own light. Lala Kashmiri, mystic poet. Loneliness is not the absence of another. It is the belief that God is further away than our next breath. And when the mind clings to the world and the heart gets hooked on its stories, the soul begins to ache. Not because it is truly alone, but because it has forgotten how to surrender to our feelings and drop into source. It's just forgotten. Loneliness is the echo of forgetting. It is the shadow cast when the light of the true self is blocked by the illusion of separation. To believe in that separation is to exile the heart from its own radiance. It is like swimming in the sea while searching for water, wandering in a desert of mirrors while chasing a mirage. But the moment the attention turns inward, not to think but to feel, something sacred begins to stir. The subtle pulse of divinity still beats beneath the skin. It was never gone. It had only been drowned out by distraction. It had only been waiting to be listened to again. Loneliness is not lack. It is longing. And longing is sacred. Longing is the soul's call for reunion. It is the ache of the heart that knows there is more love, more intimacy, more presence than this world could ever offer. That ache in the chest is not a weakness. It is the doorway to God, quietly trying to open from within. We cannot think our way out of loneliness. We cannot fix it with distractions or numb it with life's pleasures. It's not a curse to be escaped, yet rather a sacred meeting that must be welcomed and entered, a space to soften into until the tightness and the fear of disconnection dissolves, a space to soften into until the tightness of the fear of disconnection dissolves, and then the silence becomes golden again. And in the melting, you may discover this golden softness behind the ache. That is where God lives, not beyond loneliness, but inside it. The silence we flee is the very place I dwell. Abhish Iktananda. God does not come and go. God does not appear only when summoned. This presence is not something the mind can grasp. It is not a thing to be held or contained. God arrives as a frequency, a warm, slow wave that settles the heart, slows the breath, softens the muscles, and disappears gently into the bones. It doesn't need to be understood. It only needs to be felt. The body is not a barrier to awakening. It is the gateway, the sacred temple through which the divine enters. The ache in the chest, the emotion in the belly, the tingling presence in the spine when the moment is met fully. All of it is the beloved. All of it is the divine brushing up against the illusion of separation. and reminding the soul where it belongs. There is no single path to open that sacred door. Sometimes it begins with breath. Sometimes it begins with grief. Sometimes it starts with a whispered surrender. But it always leads to the same place. The holy remembering that we are not alone. We have never been alone. We were simply waiting long enough to hear the silence speak our name. This intimacy with God is not apart from our humanness. It is not a bypass. It is a descent. A descent into the body, into the grief, into the longing, into the beauty of raw being, until only presence remains. Presence, drenched in love and fully awake. I'm not seeking union, I'm remembering it. And once you stop running from yourself, the doorway appears. And it opens. And you walk through it. He who is filled with God is never alone, even in the wilderness. Theophan the recluse. It is a prayer that more and more of us are exercising, that we all may easily remember the God source is within us right now, this very moment. That we stop to feel our connection with the most beautiful world comes from. Stop everything. Look within. It is time to feel how magical and mystical we all truly are. Even when all doors remain closed, God will open a new path only for you. This is part of our spiritual evolution on this planet. When you recognize, and through you, from within, that you are the God. The separation is an illusion. It's really, that's a tough wall, illusionary wall, that we believe that the God is something other than ourselves. And then we believe we're the body. And nothing could be further from the truth. And there's a door within us, so to speak. And the door is to deeper intimacy with the God that we are. And the only way you can find this door is to surrender. All the time surrender. Not once in a great while, but surrender all the time. Stay in deep gratitude all the time. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself all the time. Never stop. And it's not about, if you feel you're forcing it, then surrender even more. Because whether you're aware of it or not, we are fully immersed within. That's why all these changes on this planet are happening. And it's our choice to open the door. You ever done something where you kind of go, oh, maybe I should, and you kind of visualize putting your hand on a door for something, open it, and no, I'll wait. And then it comes back, and kind of you feel like you're almost compelled to turn that knob. And then one day you just say, you get fatigued of it constantly showing up, so you say, okay, I'm just going to open the door. Whatever happens, happens. And you open the door, and you're met with the God that you are. When I talk about us literally transforming from ego mind to heart mind, it means that we leave what we are currently entrenched with, which is the ego mind. We leave it. We don't visit it. We leave it. And that's difficult to leave it. It's not easy to leave it. Because we like it. Believe it or not, we like it. This is why it's so difficult for us to leave it alone. And you might say, okay, I'm going to leave it alone. You leave it alone. Next thing you know, you're in it again. It's not negative. It's just recognizing that to embrace the God that we are, we leave alone. We leave the mind and ego alone. And you can do that by going in the heart mind. In these meditations, that's exactly what we do. We enter the heart mind. We reside in the now. This way we can look at the ego mind, we can look at how it operates, what it does, what thoughts it generates, that we embrace. All too often we embrace the ego mind thoughts, which are basically insecure, never satisfied, always needing, wanting, and finding, and always protecting ourselves, which is we're protecting the ego, because we don't need to protect ourselves, because who and what we really are never dies. We leave the body, right? But we don't die. It's like, okay, so I've worn this this suit for so long, now it's time to take it off. So you take it off. You leave the body. You should have conversation instead of saying, yeah, old Bill, he died yesterday. Instead of saying that, you say, yeah, Bill left the body. He's no longer in the body. You see, that kind of identifying interaction, it's words, yeah, but it catches on after a while. You won't hear people saying that so-and-so died, right? You'll hear people saying that Alice left the body. Wish her well on her next adventure. It's different, see, the frequencies. We've been compelled to talk about death, 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 death. And you can just, by listening to the frequency of that word, it isn't pleasant. It leaves a kind of a unfriendly taste. But when you say, you know, so-and-so left the body, that's the real truth. But when you say death, a lot of people believe that that's it. It's over, everything. What's beyond that? What's beyond leaving the body? Well, we continue. We continue throughout eternity. We do not cease to exist. We continually exist forever. We're all on the same path, just like I've said. It's like a tree with branches. Okay, it's still connected, but you roll off this way, and some of us will go off this way for a period of time, come back over here this way. But when it's all said and done, we're all on the same path. What's the path? What the heck is the path? The path is recognizing and embracing and deeply, eternally loving the God that you truly are. That's the path. And along the way, you learn a lot about you. And you see how it makes a big difference Because when you embrace that, rather than ignore it or push it away, you learn, you experience. And the experience is phenomenal. Now, okay, if you knew, and we really don't, if you knew how short of a time that you are in that body, what would you, and I mean it deeply, you knew it deeply, not from fear or any of that stuff. I'm talking about a knowing that I'm not in this body for long. And all of us are not in these bodies for long. None of us. So, what do we do with that life? Right? What do we do with it? The only thing that keeps us in softness and deep eternal love and deep eternal gratitude, being gentle, kind, generous, and humble with ourselves at all times, is being in the now. Because the now is all we have. We don't have yesterday and we don't have tomorrow. No matter what you do, you're not going to have either. Yeah, you'll go into tomorrow and it'll be the now. But you can't go into yesterday and have it be the now. You can see how things get so confused. How we become for a better choice of words, we get miscombobulated. We lose our direction. We're not sure which door to open. And then a lot of us will just meander in the center of the path, not really doing anything because we aren't sure what direction or what decision to make. But it's all good. We don't really make mistakes. That's earthly, organic realm. We experience. That's it. So some of the experiences we have they're still experiences. We still learn, but they're not the greatest as far as comfort and warmth, tenderness. And where does all this come from? It comes from us. Can't say that enough. Everything we do comes from us. Crazy thing about it is that a lot of us don't even know it does come from us. Still thinking that there's something that's this almighty power that does it all for us. And part of that's true because you are this almighty power. Every one of us are this almighty power. Not about power from the standpoint of putting your fist through a wall, but the power of knowing that you're a omnipotently powerful, supreme, manifesting, abundant being that never dies. That happens to be in that organic body that you use to manifest whatever it is you choose. When you use something and you get acclimated to it, like a computer, no matter what it is, but year after year after year, you begin to atrophy because you don't use your own power, because you don't believe that you do have your own power. And so you rely on things like computers, and before computers it was calculators and stuff. Instead of using the brain, it atrophies because we don't use it. And these other things, these so-called wonderful technologies that come in, well, wow, this is great. This saves me a lot of time. It's very quick. And you say you don't have to think about anything. You just push the buttons, right? But along the way, we atrophy. We don't use the brain. Because all these other gadgets do it for us. And it gets really easy. See, let's put it this way. You're perfectly healthy. Nothing wrong with you at all. You decide to sit in an electric chair, which, at first it's fun because you're outdoors and you got this little electric scooter that you sit in and then you just ride around the neighborhood. But then, you really start to like it, so you start using it more and more. And after a while, you rely on it so much that you use it all the time. Now, as time passes by, one day you decide that you're going to get up and do some things, and you can't, because the muscles in your legs have atrophied to the extent where they will no longer hold you up. And that analogy or visualization is what we have to be careful of, not to be students of the technologies, but to be the masters of the technologies, not the students. And it's imperative because, it's like come hell or high water, there are those out there that, with their particular drive, want to create all these technologies. And I'm not saying that they're not good, but it, again, is to be careful as we're introduced to these technologies, not to become so seduced by them that we lose ourselves. It's very important. Because, we're in these highly emotional bodies. So we get very excited, enthusiastic when new things are presented to us, at least new things to us. And so there's many things where you're going to thank your lucky stars that you are in a body, but you are aware that you are not the body. That is huge with what is coming for this civilization. It's huge because you're aware of who and what you are. You begin to use your power in an enlightening way, so then you begin to start manifesting things that you truly desire, and you're happy about it, and you're content. You don't feel this drive or this push to make it to the top, or notoriety, or special. And you'll find that the quiet time and being in these meditations, as things progress out there, you'll begin focusing more and more on what you want, period. You'll begin focusing on you, not anybody else, not anything out there. You'll be focusing on you. You'll be focusing on the God that you are. You'll be focusing on having intimate communication with the God that you are. It's like I've said for years and years and years. You want to pray, right? Nothing wrong with prayer. Pray to the God that you are. It's a good thing. You want to laugh? Laugh with the God that you are. Cry with the God that you are. In other words, we get into the habit that it's like an everyday, all-day relationship. And it's through our awareness that this relationship becomes front and center. So it just depends on where you focus, what you look at, how you respond to this life. And we can all get caught up in it. I mean, none of us are exempt from it. I believe that all of us visit from time to time what it would be like to be at peace 24/7. And not, you know what I mean, not zonked out for eternity, but at peace. So when you maneuver the planet and you're in that body, you're at peace. You have no friction with yourself. The peace is within you. The peace is that the God that you really truly are. Contentment. Bliss. These are things that those of us right now on this planet don't experience much. It's not something we experience. You know why? Because we've been so habitualized and focusing on things that we don't want. And we get them. And then we wonder why our lives are so crazy. Yeah, how frustrating that is. You're the one creating the life that you are currently living in this very now moment. You are. Nobody else is. And yet, we've been taught to believe that, oh, no, that, you see, this happened because of this over here and because of this over here. You had nothing to do with that. It's a force that does this. Or, you know, the communication saying that, you know, God will punish you if you don't behave yourself. If you do bad things, God will punish you. Right? Do you really believe that that came from the God? Really, truly. And we are constantly being forgiven by the gods that we are. Constantly. Yet, as humans, we do have a tendency to feel guilty about things that are absolutely ridiculous. And where does the guilty feeling come from? The ego mind. When you start feeling guilty and you start feeling undeserving, or you shouldn't have this or that, it's the ego mind. And then the little bell goes off, or the alarm, right? And this huge neon stop sign appears, and you say, ego mind, you are not in charge. You might say it 200-300 times a day until you lay your head on the pillow that night. But your choice, see, do you choose to live in that any longer? You've experienced it for lifetimes. Why would we continually immerse ourselves in pain and suffering and anger and frustration, mostly in the beginning starting with ourselves? And then, of course, it affects everything around us, outside of us. Why? Does that make sense that we would choose that? No. It's like you've heard me share many times that we don't have to spend 5,000 lifetimes in pain and suffering to certain degrees. We can determine, you know right now in this life, right in this very now moment, that you have suffered, you have had pain, you've had disappointment, you've had resentment, you've had all kinds of things. Not lightly, really. Not really lightly, but heavy duty for a long time in this lifetime. And it's still there. Now, we all know with ourselves that we really don't need any more of that. We have done it. We have had the rodeos with that. Those lower dark matter frequencies. And we are grateful for them because it's taught us a tremendous amount. So how much in deep gratitude are we when we knowingly move ourselves in the opposite direction, which is peace, tranquility, benevolence, with ourselves to start with. Deep eternal love, 100% confidence, 100% trust, 100% faith in ourselves. Embracing as much as we can the God that we are within the body. having conversations with the God that we are. Because really deep inside of us, we know that this life is designed for our happiness, our joy. You see it sometimes. Once you do see it on occasion across the planet, families and stuff getting together and happiness, and so it's there. But then on the flip side, you see all this other stuff. And it makes you wonder, well, why? Why wouldn't the planet just be filled with joy, peace, and tranquility and benevolence? Why has it got all this other stuff? Well, the main reason is that the majority of the people on this planet do not know who and what they are. That's it. That's why you witness and watch and observe what transpires on this planet. It really is. It's knowing oneself as the God that you truly are, which is an omnipotently powerful, supreme, manifesting, abundant being that never, ever dies. I'll join you in meditation. I'll return to close this out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose. And an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still, relaxed into your body. Focus on your breath rising and falling. For today, devote the next 24 hours to being gentle with you in every possible way. Practice extreme gentleness with yourself. Being gentle with you means that every time you think a harsh, negative thought about you, or a self-doubt, fear, or disbelief in yourself, that you tell yourself something kind in its place. You could say, it's okay, you are loved, or something soothing. However you go about moving through your day, move slowly, gently inside and on the outside. This is the greatest energetic way of saying you love you and forgive yourself for all the times you were hard on you. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night, the following morning. We will return here Monday, June 23, 2025, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest deepest, purest of the purest purest. Eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's going on within you nor outside of you. Open your heart and allow the magic to flow in.